For Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J, and this is what I think. In most jobs, in business, in whatever the field is, in order for somebody to be a successful leader, a successful manager, a successful supervisor, a successful owner, they generally will have started in the business from the bottom up. Whether it's McDonald's, you started out as a cashier or as a fry cook and you worked your way to supervisor and then to manager and then to general manager and then to store owner or some high up position in the corporate structure. Whether it's McDonald's or whether it's some other type of corporate entity, you start off in the mailroom or you start off with the accounting team and then you work your way up to controller and then you work your way up to CFO and then CEO and then owner. Whatever it is, you generally will either have to work your way up from the bottom or you'll have to go somewhere and learn about the business and learn about the industry and learn about how to function within that system. Now, professional sports is a lot like that also, because in professional sports, a lot of your more successful coaches and general managers started out playing the sport, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. They started out playing the sport either in high school or in college or something like that. And then they either had a full professional career where they played a bunch of years and became a reasonable player like Mike Ditka or somebody like that who became a player, Frank Reich, who was a player who performed in the NFL at the highest level and then became a coach and worked his way up from position coach to assistant coach to head coach and then became a successful head coach. Steve Kerr was a player, became a general manager, was an analyst, and then became a head coach and became a successful head coach. Ty Lue was a player, became an assistant coach under another coach who was himself a former player. Then he became a head coach and won championships. It works that way in sports. But the funny thing about that is ownership does not work that way. You don't have to work your way up from the bottom to the top and then ultimately buy a franchise. But ownership is that way in any business. But in business, you've learned how to function in business. Even if you come in with a ton of money and you decide to buy a Popeye's chicken restaurant or you decide to buy a Best Buy location, you've probably done some kind of work in business to where you know how to run a business. And professional sports teams are a business. But in order to run a professional sports team, you have to know something about the industry. David Tepper is the new owner of the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper made his money as a hedge fund manager, and David Tepper knows how to run a business. But David Tepper, like most billionaires who decide to buy professional sports teams, knows nothing about running a business that's related to sport. He knows nothing about running a football team. He never played football. He never played football at any level, and he decided, I have some money, I want to own a sports team, I want to own my local team, so I'm going to buy the Panthers. So he did. He bought the Carolina Panthers. So now that he owns them, he wants to run them the way he would run his other businesses. And that's fine, but you can't really run those businesses the same. If you want to determine whether or not it makes sense to put another refrigerator or another deep freezer in a restaurant that you own, all you have to do is talk to your accountant, talk to your finance people, see if it makes sense feasibly to buy it, see if it's going to run you from the red to the black or from the black to the red, buying it, and see if it's going to help you make more money and help you be more functional in your restaurant. Will a new refrigerator improve your restaurant? That's an easy decision to make. You talk to your chef, you talk to your finance people, and you figure it out. Now in sports, it's the same, but it's not the same. In sports, if you want to decide whether or not to draft a quarterback, you need to talk to people who know something about drafting quarterbacks. And David Tepper didn't. David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. Frank Reich, the coach, wanted C.J. Stroud. David Tepper, being the owner, overruled Frank Reich, the coach, and the Carolina Panthers drafted Bryce Young. Now, Bryce Young is struggling, and the Panthers have one win. C.J. Stroud is thriving and is being touted as Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and an MVP candidate. But then the question in sports is always, is it the player, is it the system, or is it the organization? If C.J. Stroud had gone to Carolina and Bryce Young had gone to Houston, C.J. Stroud would be in the system with Frank Reich and David Tepper and that organization, and Bryce Young would be in Houston. Maybe C.J. Stroud wouldn't be as successful. Maybe he would because he's just that good. But that's a question that we have to figure out. But the point is that David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. Frank Reich was not able to make it work with Bryce Young because Bryce Young was not the quarterback Frank Reich wanted, and Bryce Young was not the quarterback that Frank Reich thought could function in Frank Reich's system. So David Tepper, in order to say, yes, I'm right, fired Frank Reich. And everybody else connected with Frank Reich, who came in and was supposed to turn the team around and create great offense. So he's going to bring in a new coach. He's going to bring in a new quarterback coach. He's going to bring in a new offensive coordinator. And he's going to bring in somebody who can, in his mind, make Bryce Young a star and make the Carolina Panthers a great team. And he might make the Carolina Panthers a great team, but he might not. Because, once again, David Tepper knows nothing about football, but as long as David Tepper is making the decisions relating to the football team is going to struggle. And there are a lot of owners in professional sports who like to do this. There are a lot of owners in professional football who like to do this. Al Davis was a football guy. Al Davis was a player who became a coach, who became a general manager, who became a league commissioner, and then became an owner. So when he made football decisions, he knew what he was talking about. Al Davis passed away. Mark Davis never played football in his life, knew nothing about the sport, and was only connected to the sport because of his father. So when Al Davis passed away and Mark Davis inherited the team, Mark Davis makes decisions based on his ego and based on the fact that he has the money and can make the decisions. So he hires and fires coaches and throws away quarterbacks at will because he has no idea what he's doing. Jerry Jones played a little football in college. He at one point knew what he was doing. Today, not so much. Robert Kraft never played football, but he hired a guy who knew what he was doing. Might have been time to throw that guy away, but he's hanging on to that guy and his team is floundering. A lot of these guys don't know football. They know how to make money, but they don't know football. But they think they do. And because they think that they do, they decide to make all the decisions. And in the course of making all the decisions, some of those decisions don't pan out, and they don't pan out to the detriment of your team. The Cleveland Browns owner gave Deshaun Watson millions of dollars, and Deshaun Watson is not only not a dependable player, he's hurt all the time. Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, decided to sign Kawhi Leonard, even though Kawhi Leonard said, hey, I'm not going to play more than 60 games. I know I've won championships in San Antonio and Toronto, but I'm not going to play more than 60 games. So if that's cool with you, then we're cool. And so he signed him. And the Clippers haven't gotten any better post-Kawhi Leonard than they were pre-Kawhi Leonard. But that's what he wanted to do because he was the owner and he wanted to do it. So my question then is David Tepper a bad owner, like Daniel Snyder allegedly was with Washington, or is David Tepper just on a learning curve? Should he start at the bottom? Should he be an equipment manager and work his way up from equipment manager to position coach to general manager to owner? Should he work his way up like he would if he was working in any other business? Or should he just come in with $1 billion and say, I want to buy the team and make all the decisions, and whether they go right or wrong, it's his team and he can do what he wants? I don't know. But as it stands right now, it looks like David Tepper's not that great an owner, but he's only in his first year or second year of owning the team. So maybe we need to give David Tepper some time. Or maybe David Tepper needs to step back and let football people make football decisions for his football team, the same way he would if he bought a restaurant. He would let restaurant people make restaurant decisions for his restaurant. And then he would see his restaurant make money. That's what a lot of smart owners do. So what David Tepper needs to do right now is show himself a smart owner, can let football people make football decisions for his football team. Remember to like and share this video and subscribe to this channel, and visit the new Eric J on Sports website, and follow me on Facebook at Eric J on Sports 1 and on Instagram and Twitter at Eric J on Sports. And for Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J, and this is what I think.